Okay, so today we are going to sketch polynomials, and primarily we are going to deal in quadratics, cubics, and quartics. So how do we sketch a quadratic? See, generally, the thumb rule is for any polynomial, if the polynomial has a degree n, then the maximum turning points, I shouldn't say turning points, maximum stationary points is the right word, are always n minus 1 maximum. Right? So now what we're trying to say here is that if you have a quadratic, let's say y equals to x squared plus 2, 2 is the degree as it's a quadratic. The maximum turning point it will have 2 minus 1. It's only got one turning point. We know that, right? So that's how you identify how many maximum turning points you can have. In case of cubics, we'll come to it. Cubic is a degree 3, so 3 minus 1. So at the max, a cubic can have two turns, right? Cubic can have one turn as well. Turn is the stationary point, but we'll come to that. Now, let's look at how many different kind of quadratics we can have. Just okay. Now let's draw three kinds of quadratic. One, you see what I'm doing now. Three type of quadratic. This is x-axis and this is y. This is x and this is y. This is x and this is y. This quadratic, which is the extreme left, has two x-intercepts. This quadratic has just got one x-intercept, and this quadratic has got no x-intercepts, right? Now, how do I come to know that how many x-intercepts my quadratic will have? So I will use the quadratic formula, which is x equals to minus b plus minus b square minus 4ac over 2a. And this part is very important, b square minus 4ac. Now, if I look at this quadratic here, my quadratic is x squared plus 2. Now, x squared plus 2, so a value is 1, b value is 0, and c value is 2. Correct? So my b square minus 4ac is 0 square minus 4 times 1 times 2. So that means this has a negative 8 as answer. So that means b square minus 4ac is a negative value. Whenever my b square minus 4ac is a negative value, or that means less than 0, I will always get this kind of a graph. That means no x-intercepts. If my b square minus 4ac is equal to 0, I will always get this kind of a graph, where I have only one x-intercept. And if my b square minus 4ac is greater than 0, that means I have this kind of a graph. Because I have two roots of x, two roots of the equation. I have two different values from the quadratic formula. This will give me just one x value. This will give me two x values. And hence I've got two x-intercepts, and hence I've got just one x-intercept here. So whenever your b² minus 4ac is less than 0, you can say it is the graph is not touching the x-axis. Now, what is important here is how do we graph it? How do we graph it? In order to graph a quadratic, I need x-intercepts. I need y-intercepts, y-intercept, and I need turning points. I just told you how to find the x-intercept. So x-intercept is finding the x. You plug this formula in. You get two values of x in case there are two intercepts. You get the x-intercept. Now, in case, how do you get the y-intercept? Y-intercept is you plug in x equals to 0, and you find the value of y. And turning points are even easier. So if you've got the two x-intercepts, let's say x1 and x2, let's say this value was x1 and this was x2, you add both of them and divide by 2. That is the x point of the turning point, x coordinate of the turning point. I can call it as xp. You plug xp back into the original equation, original quadratic equation, you get a yp. So hence your xp comma yp will become the turning points of your quadratic. Right? Now let's take, and one more thing, which is the type of quadratic. Type, there are two types. One is a max turning point. Second is the minimum turning. Maximum turning point is a sad face turning point, where the turning point is the highest in the graph. That's the max turning point. Min turning point is something like this, where the turning point is minimum in the quadratic. So these are roughly the 3 or 4 crucial points: type of quadratic, x-intercepts, y-intercepts, and the turning point. Now, before we switch to cubics, one important thing to understand is how do I know whether the turning point, whether this quadratic is a max turning point quadratic or a min turning point quadratic. So let's say my quadratic looks like this: ax squared plus bx plus c, correct? Let's say this a is very important. If this a is a positive value, I will get a minimum turning point parabola. That means a parabola will look something like this. And if this a is negative, I get a max turning point parabola, something like this. So if my quadratic is y equals to 2x squared plus 5x plus 6, most likely this is how it's going to look like, because a is a plus 2. But then if I place a negative in front of a, this is how the graph's going to look like, upside down. Right? Make sense? Cool. Now we'll go to